Hey, what's up? This is Jake, and today we're going to be going over some AWS documentation on building a WordPress blog. So, in the Getting Started guide, last time we went over creating a lamp stack, which we're going to kind of do this time, uh, but we're going to add on a WordPress blog. I'm going to start it from scratch so you can kind of see how it works. But essentially, if you're not familiar, WordPress is just an application that people use to build and maintain websites, and you can use that to create your own blog. We're going to do this on Amazon Linux instance, so using Amazon Linux 2 AMI, and we're not going to do any of the automation stuff yet. We're going to crawl still before we walk, before we run. And there's a separate guide for doing it on Ubuntu and Windows. So we'll go over prerequisites, installing WordPress, any next steps, and some DNS Route 53 stuff. So in our prerequisites, it assumes you have launched an instance. So we're gonna do that first, just so you can see how this works. If you didn't know, I have a video on doing this and it's explained in more detail. I'm gonna go over this really fast since I've already done this before. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna launch an instance. We need to have public DNS names reachable from the internet. Um, so since this is an assumption in the prerequisite, we have to do the prerequisite of the prerequisite, and have a security group with port 22 and port 80 and port 443 connections. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we'll launch this instance. Actually, before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my security group that I used just to do port 80, and I'm actually going to edit the inbound rules. And I have port 80 from anywhere, and then I'm going to do port 443 from anywhere, anywhere IPv4. And then I'm going to also add a rule to SSH from my IP address. This is the most secure way to do it. This way, there's other, you could have separate security groups and stuff, but we won't get into that. So HTTP from anywhere, HTTPS from anywhere, and SSH from my computer. So go ahead and save that, and our security group is up to date. So now I can go over here, and it says in the console, launch an instance, choose Amazon Linux 2 template and a T2 micro instance type. Review and launch. Make sure you have the correct security group, and then launch it. And then make sure you choose an existing key pair with a key pair that you have, or create another one. So I'll show you how to create another one. So I'm going to go to EC2 dashboard, launch instance, Amazon Linux 2, select the T2 micro instance type, review and launch, security group, edit security group, existing, and you'll see that mine isn't there, right? So we need to look at why. Instances, launch instance. I'll show you this real quick. Select T2 micro. If I go to next, configure instance details, it's because it's in the default VPC. So if you look at the get started, it says choose this and make sure that you like click review and launch and then change the security group. Well, the reason you don't see it is because you're in the default VPC. So one thing you might, a little gotcha, is if you don't create your security group accessible in here, then it's not going to work. So I have my own VPC, so I'm going to select my VPC with my web demo web server public subnet, and just that little change right there. If I hit review and launch, and then I go to security groups and I edit them, now when I select an existing, I can see here's my security group with ports, that I wanted. So that's the little gotcha in there that you might run into. I'm gonna create a new key pair just so you can see. You can just name it. I'm gonna go. This will be my WordPress key pair. Download key pair. There it is. Launch instance. Cool. So while that's launching, let's go ahead and read the next section. I'm also going to rename this. There's a way to do this with tags. If you add a tag name and then type it out, the key name value, whatever you want, like WordPress blog. Hey, WordPress blog. You know what? You're not very nice. Can I edit this now? Buggy little thing. Okay, so now I have a WordPress blog instance and it's running. All right, cool. So let's go check this out now. So we got through this part. Don't proceed without a key pair, yada yada. All right, so on the instance screen, you can view the status of the launch. It takes a short time to launch, and once it's started, um, it changes to running and receives a public DNS name. All right, well, let's go see if that's true. Toggle on public IPv4 confirm. All right, so let's check this out. So here's my public IPv4 DNS. Sweet. So that worked, right? Connect your instance. There are several ways to do it, blah, 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 blah. So if you need a guide, you can open this one right here. And there's a couple different ways to do it, but we're going to use a Windows. I can just do it in PuTTY. You guys probably all use PuTTY. So I've got a PEM file, right? You can generate a key and all that stuff. But what I would prefer to do is I can just open up like PowerShell or something. Or do I have? Yeah, I've got WSL on here. home/download. Am I not me? ls. Oh no, because I'm in Windows subsystem. Downloads. Okay, so now I can do like ssh ec2 underscore hyphen user at, and then get your public. You can use your public IP. I'll just use DNS. Or you can use public IP. Doesn't matter. And I'm going to insert my WordPress PEM file to pass as a credential. Yes, you can go ahead and add. And now I've just SSH'd, and I just did it with PowerShell. So that's really all you need to do. Don't worry about creating all this stuff. We're not going to put your key on there and all this stuff. So I'm just connecting with my PEM file that I downloaded. And then it's like, all right, cool, you did it. Go ahead and clean it up. And it's like, okay, well, we're not actually going to do that. So we're just going to skip this. That was launch the instance part. And we configured our security group to install and start the LAMP web server with AMI. Connect to your instance. Ensure all of your software packages are up to date. Perform a quick software update on your instance with sudo yum update. The -y just automatically says yes instead of it prompting you right here to go, hey, these are all the packages. Is this what you want to do? And then you have to say yes or no. So if you just add that flag -y, that'll do that for you. All right, so now we're doing an update, and once it's current, you can install Apache web server, MySQL, and PHP software packages. It says some apps may not be compatible with fully recommended software, and so these packages check whether your LAMP is compatible with them. They're probably need to do an alternative environment. So we're just going to try all of these. So yum install HTTPD 2.4, PHP 7.2, MySQL 15.7, and PHP 7.2 MySQL ND. So I'm just going to copy this guy. I'm just going to copy all these. There's nothing to do. No, not available, not available, not available, not available. So why not? Why can't it do that? So it was able to do all of this. So instead of giving it versions, let's do this. Let's just try one. So if I do this, it says there's nothing to do. If I do this, oh, it had a lot to do, right? So what did it install? It installed 2.4.48. So all we're doing is giving it version numbers, right? So if I do the same thing with PHP, again, how do I know this? This is just like stuff I've come across in the past. If you do it this way, it's just going to take the latest version. So now we got PHP 5.4, and it wanted us to install PHP 7.2. So I mean, we might run into problems. I don't know, but yeah, see this right here. For more information, see application software when run on my server is incompatible with the installed PHP version of the server. So basically, you just need Apache, HTTPD, PHP software packages, which include this one, and MySQL. So if it doesn't work, you're going to have to find a way around this. So let's go look at this. These are well-tested versions. Um, these guys right here. You must first uninstall these packages and other dependencies. Okay, let's try that. So boop, let's try that. No match. Sweet. And then you try to install the rest of them, and there's nothing to do. And if you want to upgrade, blah, 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 you must first remove these. And it's like, well, that didn't really work. So already this guide is going to kind of mess you up a little bit. So we installed Apache, which is HTTPD. We installed PHP. Let's try doing MySQL Server. So let's try doing just MySQL -server. And you'll see it's not there. So you just go to Google, yum install MySQL server. Amazon Linux 2. 2018, 2020. Let's see what they have to say. So it's EOS release. Yeah, we might need to add a repository. So the easiest thing to do usually is just go to MySQL. Like if you just Google like Linux install MySQL, then you can go to the MySQL documentation. So here's the yum, and it'll just tell you what to do. So you're going to need the RPM. This is again for like to do it this way. You can go to the download and get the RPM and then install the RPM. All this should work, but what you'll find in these guides is it often doesn't. So if I just type MySQL, because I know that it does that, it does technically MariaDB, which again will work, no problem. But that's how I would look for it. But you also need this, whatever this is, right? So it's like we have Apache, PHP, SQL Server, MySQL. But like, what is this? So I'm just going to copy it, paste it into here, and it's in MySQL native driver for PHP. MySQL native driver. Okay, well let's just try to do that. MySQL native driver. Nothing to do. So I don't know if you actually need this, but you probably do because it's got the PHP library. So I would just do AWS. Yeah, let's do Amazon Linux 2. So this is the same. Yeah, so the prepare the lamp. Let's go back to the prerequisites, right? So in this launch and instance thing that we did, there's all this stuff. Let's see, next steps. Install LAMP on Amazon Linux 2. Let's try that one. All right. Is this the same thing? No, it's not. Okay, cool. So we did a yum update. Let's do these two. So let's do a yum just to make sure this is clean. Yum remove MySQL, yum remove Apache, yum remove PHP, and that gets rid of the 3 things that I installed. And let's do their recommendation. Boop. Let's see what that does. All right, so we got PHP. Let's take a look here. Complete. All right, so we've got PHP common, all this other stuff, MariaDB config. Here's our native driver. So it's just the naming of the package, that's all. So the repository that Amazon Linux 2 is pointing to, you see these have like .amzn2, all have very specific names. So you can Google it and guess, and you can see what I did, and that may or may not actually cause more problems for you down the road. Or my recommendation is find a document that's published by Amazon Web Services that has all of the things that you need, because then you at least know that it's supported by Amazon. Okay, this is just if you receive an error or whatever. Okay, so now let's get this going on. This will give us a Apache and MariaDB server. One more package. Okay, and then you can view current versions. All right, so now we're going to start Apache, and then we're going to enable Apache, which will just make sure if you restart the system that it starts when the instance starts, and then make sure it's running and it is enabled, right? So we already have our security group set up, so we should be able to see, and obviously we SSH to it right now. So I should be able to go look at a test page if I just copy the public DNS or IP address, stick it in my browser, and we'll see if this works. There you go. So our test page works. So now we've got all this stuff installed. And the next thing we're going to do is set the file permissions. So we're going to put the EC2 user to the Apache group. Log out back in. Okay, I mean, you can do that if you want to. I can exit and then just SSH right back in. And then we want to look at our groups. EC2 user, ADM wheel, Apache, systemd. Cool. We're going to change the ownership of var www. This is going to be where your content is for Apache. We're going to change the ownership recursively, so through every single thing that's in that www directory, which would include HTML. We're going to add group write permissions and set the ID on future directories. So if we add anything later, they won't have to do this again. And then recursively through all the underlying directories. Okay, so now anybody in that future group can add, delete, edit files in Apache document root, which would be var www. Then you can add your content, do whatever, which will be super convenient when we go to add WordPress. So securing web server, this is optional. I'm not going to do it right now because this is already going to be long enough as it is, but maybe we can go over that. I did do a portion of this in the previous video that I did. All right, so we're going to do a little test here. There's nothing in there, right? So we're echoing this PHP info into this file. All right. Now I should be able to go to that same exact URL and just add this at the end of it, and I should get the PHP guy. So let me pull up, reopen, close tab, and at the end of this slash PHP info.php. And there's our PHP stuff. Cool. So if you don't see this, make sure yada yada. If any required package is an opposite, you do this. You shouldn't broadcast your PHP versions because then somebody can be like, oh, they're on this version, so now I can hack them using this vulnerability that's known for that version. All right, so now we're going to secure the database server. We're going to go ahead and start that up. And then we're going to do this secure installation. Enter for none. I don't think I have a root password, do I? I'm prompted for a root. Type the current root password by default. The root doesn't have a password. Hit enter. That's true. Set root password? Probably not. Type yes to set a password and type secure password twice. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set a password. Remove anonymous users? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, cool. So let's go yes, 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 yes. Sweet. Optional, if you do not plan to serve right away, stop it. We're not going to do that. If you want it to start every reboot, enable it, which we do. We're going to enable that sucker. Okay, my PHP admin. It's optional. It's super fast, something you can do. So we'll go ahead and install this. Very easy to do. And then we'll restart Apache, restart PHP. And then navigate to the document root for Apache. And we're going to select the source package for the latest MyPHP admin release here. To download it directly in instance, copy the link and paste it in wget command. All right, so we're just going to wget this tar file, this little tarball. And then we're going to make a directory, PHP myadmin, and we're going to tar that tarball and strip the components out. Just like that. I think it's like unzipping. All right, and we're going to clean up our tarball so we don't have that sitting around. And then we're going to start the database. I think it was already started. Just in case it does need one, I'm going to restart the database. And then in a web browser, we can now do the PHP myadmin. So we can replace this guy. And there you go. So now if we go back to, let's get rid of that. Here, you can log in with root and then that root password that you created. So root and then your password. And now you have access to PHP myadmin. So that's kind of cool, huh? So this works really well. Your installation must be configured to put in service. Begin. Copy the content into it. Save the file. So we're not going to do. This isn't like a PHP. Like we don't need to do a lot of this stuff. But you know, just I guess we could just do it really quick. Manually create the configuration file as follows. To start with a minimal config file, use your favorite text editor to create a new file, then copy the contents of config sample inc php into it. Save it as config inc php in the my PHP admin directory that contains index. Refer to post instructions section using additional setup. Yeah, I don't know that we really need to do this, but I mean we can if you want to. Config sample inc. That I'm not really sure I need to do this for. I'll leave it open, but for the WordPress site. So, anyways, this works, and that's running. So, lamp, yeah, we got that. All right, so let's go back to our prerequisites. So we did all the lamp stuff and have all that set up. We strongly recommend you associate an EIP with it. So this is just a static IP address that you can use so that if you restart your instance and the IP address changes, that it doesn't mess up your bookmark or whatever. So I'm going to allocate an elastic IP address, and I'm just going to allocate one. I'm not going to do anything except that. And now I have one, and I'm just going to give this a name real quick. I should have just done this in the tag. This is going to be my WordPress EIP, and then I'm going to associate this elastic IP address with an instance. Associate. So now if you go to this IP address, you'll also go to, like if I go to, oops, http://blah, I get the Apache page. So this elastic IP address takes me to the same place as if I typed my DNS name. Good old Amazon Linux 2 T2 micro. It's very small. So that'll get us there. Okay. So now we got an EIP set up. Sweet. The next thing we need to do is, since if you don't already have a domain, you can register a domain and associate your EIP with your domain name. Okay, well, you might not have this, but I do, so I'll go ahead and show you. If I go to Route 53, you'll have these things called hosted zones. Each hosted zone is basically a place where you can set up a domain. And I have a domain, nimbusdevops.com. Okay, well, let's go check this out and see what it's pointing to. So I can go to nimbusdevops.com, points to what? I have this demo, right? I can delete this A record, and I'm going to create a new record that's blog.nimbusdevops.com, an A record, and then the value I'm going to put in here is going to be the value of my elastic IP address. Simple routing, create record. Value not oh, because I I wasn't paying attention. All right, so now I have blog.nimbusdevops.com that points to my elastic IP. So this takes, if you copy and paste this in here and it says, hey, this didn't work. Well, this was really fast. It takes a minute for it to propagate into DNS, so you just need to wait. But now, instead of using the elastic IP, I just created an A record in my hosted zone for my domain and created a prefix blog and pointed it to my EIP, and now it's going to my blog. So hey, this is like shaping up pretty quick, right? So now that's done. So now we're going to do a WordPress installation. So we're going to wget the tar file for the WordPress installation, and I'm still in my var www directory. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, maybe. Did it time out? Bueller. I think it timed out. Oh, it's because I changed my IP address. All right, so yeah, I can't get in there. Let me just open a new one. All right, so if you try to SSH downloads, notice my IP address, and it's not working, right? So instead of using that IP address, I'm just going to use my elastic IP address. Boom, and then you're good. So that's why that doesn't work. All right, so once you change something, like I said, that's exactly why you want an elastic IP. All right, so now I'm going to go to my home directory, which I should be in, and I'm going to just wget this tarball for WordPress. And then I'm going to extract it, unzip, archive, installation package. Installation folder is unzipped to a folder called WordPress. So I'm just, like I said, you can put this wherever you want. If I were to best practice this for you, what I would do is have you take a look at this. So you have in the root directory, you have all these other directories, and like you could download stuff to your media directory, whatever. But you have this OPT, which is like optional software packages that are installed. So if I were doing this for real, what I would do is, in fact, let me go to my home directory and then just delete this guy, and then go to /opt, run that wget command again, and just stick it right in here. And then when I untar this to install it, like I'm gonna do everything inside of. Ooh, wait, what do we got going on here? Not recoverable. Cannot, no such file or directory. Where's my tarball? I didn't read this. Permission denied. Ah, okay, yeah, because you need to do it as root. So yeah, I'm just gonna do it in my home directory. So yeah, that's just because I can't write into the OPT as EC2 user, so you'd have to do it as sudo or do it as root. So for the purposes of this, I'm just gonna do it in here because it's easy and fast, and it's just a demo. But that's definitely not what I would do in a production system. I don't put things in home directories. Okay, so now you need to create a database user and a database for your WordPress installation. So MariaDB is already started, so we don't need to do that. The Mysql, I don't know if it's not even a thing. So this is for Linux too. So if it doesn't work, it's because you're not using this. We're using Amazon Linux too. Okay, we're going to log in the database server as root. Enter your database root password when prompted. And now I'm logged in the database. Okay, so now we're going to use this SQL query. It's not really a query, SQL command. So we're going to create a user, WordPress user at localhost identified by, so that's how you set a password, your strong password. So I'm just going to copy this part, and I'm going to put in a super not strong password. Identified by, and then let's just do like password and make all of my friends angry. Okay. Make sure you create a strong password. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, best practice password stuff. All right, create your database. So we need a meaningful name. WordPress DB sounds good to me. So we're going to make a database. And then we're going to grant all privileges on that database to our user that we created. So then our user has permissions to manipulate it. Flush the database privileges to pick up your changes. And then exit the MySQL client. I love it. It's cute. It says bye. All right, create and edit the WordPress config PHP file. It contains a sample config file, WordPress installation folder, wp config sample.php. You copy that file and edit to fit your config. So we're going to copy this file to a file called wp config from the sample. This creates a new config file and keeps the original sample intact as a backup. So we're going to copy this file. We're basically just making we have an original, and now we'll have a copy of the original. So you'll see we have a WordPress directory. Actually, I can remove this tarball now. I can go to the WordPress directory, and in here, you'll see that we have a WP config sample, and then we have WP config now. So the WP config is what PHP is actually going to use, or WordPress is actually going to use. This is just the sample that you can use. So that's why you copy into here, and now it's actually going to be used. So now we can edit this guy, and if we mess up, we have this other one as a reference. So we're going to nano this guy, and I hate nano, so I'm going to VI with it instead. Oh, I'm already in this directory. Oh, PowerShell, you are killing me. That is hard to read. All right, fetch the line that defines the DB name. So we're going to change the database name. So define DB name, and we're just going to change this to WordPress DB. Okay, so I have to define DB name, database name here. All right, so I to insert, and then we're just going to delete this sucker. And we're going to paste in WordPress DB. And then we're going to use our WordPress user for username. Boop. And then our password here as well. Now, in the real world, you would never do this. This is just a demo to get you started, to understand how this all works in Amazon, not how to best create a WordPress site and secure a database. And then DB password, strong password, and we did that. All right, find the section called Authentication, Unique Keys, and Salts. Okay, so we're gonna have to go down and here you go. All right, and then we're gonna go, let's see here. These key and salt values provide a layer of encryption to the browser cookies that WordPress users store on their local machines, basically adding long random values here to make your site more secure. Visit this to randomly set a generative keys, and you can copy and paste into your WP config file. Okay, so let's go here to paste in terminal, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right, so here's our stuff. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to actually hit escape, and then I'm going to go dd, 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 and then insert again, and right click, and boom. So there's my salt. Do not use these for your installation. Save the file and exit your text. Escape, right quit, bang, done. Install your WordPress files under the Apache root document. All right, so we're going to copy the WordPress everything into HTML. So let me go back a directory so this command actually works. Copy recursively everything in WordPress to var www HTML. Done. If you want WordPress to run an alternative directory under the root document, you can first create that directory and do that. We're not going to do that. So you could do this. I don't know if they reference this later, but we just won't do it. If you have multiple pages and you want like a specific blog directory for that, you could do that. If you're not moving on security, if you're not moving on next to stop Apache, okay, yeah, we're going to keep going. Allow WordPress to use permanent links. Okay, so we're going to vim the Apache config file, and we're going to find the directory and override none. Change the allow override none to allow override all. Okay, so let's do that. So let's go sudo vim this guy, I to insert, and then we're going to go look for allow override on the directory for var, that's root, and we want to do var www HTML. So there's root. Here's var www HTML. Allow override. We're going to change this from none to lowercase all. Right? No, capital A. Save file. Exit, right quit, bang. Okay, install PHP graphics drawing library. Oh, that sounds fun. So GD, graphics drawing library, enables you to modify pages. If you need to crop header images, oh, now they're getting fancy. All right, so let's install that. I didn't type -y, so that now you can see what that looks like. Verify installation. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this just worked. We just saw it. All right, so there it is. And that's what. So install graphics on AMI. We don't need to do that because they're not using that. To fix file permissions on Apache web server, document root, such as uploading administration screens. I think we already did this, but let's go ahead and chown this, and then change the group to grant ownership, and then change the directory permissions. Again, I think a lot of this is maybe. Oh, did I hit enter? I did. What's going on? One. Find, type, execute. Yeah. Probably can't find that, so probably don't need that. Recursively change the file permissions to group right permissions. The find command on here is just going really slow. That's all it is. Restart Apache for Amazon Linux 2, because that's what we're using after this fact-finding mission ends. Good Lord. And then we run the WordPress installation script. Almost done. I know this is a long one. I love how it says they're like 10-minute whatevers. I think it takes a little bit longer than 10 minutes, but that's just my opinion, one guy's opinion. So what this is doing is it's finding inside var the type D subdirectories, and it's executing a sudo chmod 2775 command, and then doing the same thing 664 but for all the files. So now we're going to restart Apache, and now we can finally do. This is already done. We enabled everything. Let's make sure MariaDB is running. It is. See, active running, and then verify Apache is running. We already know that it is. We just started it, but active running. And then in a web browser, type the URL of your WordPress blog, either public DNS or the address followed by blog folder. So we're going to use our little address, blog.nimbusdevops.com. And from there, to run the WordPress AMI, all right, we can skip that. It should work. So you've tested your work, consider updating the config. All right, use a custom domain name. I already did that. Configure your blog. All right, so this is where you get into it. So now if I refresh this, if their documentation is good, and we did everything correctly, this should work. Ta-da! Continue. Site title. Let's do Nimbus DevOps. Username. Nimbus DevOps. Don't be trying to steal my password. Your email. Let's see. If you want to send me an email, hey, go for it. Discourage search engines from indexing sites. Up to search engines to honor this request. Yeah, we'll do that. Install WordPress. Ah, log in. Get rid of this download thing. All right, username. We're gonna do Nimbus DevOps. Put in my password. Yeah, sure. Remember me. Log in. Boom. So there we go. So this is all installed. I can see there's updates and plugins that need attention. So you can configure your blog. You can increase the capacity. You could change your instance type. You can move your database to RDS. This is like getting more complicated. My public DNS changed. Now my blog is broken. Again, you can update all this in Route 53. There's ways to do all this stuff. Don't worry about that. But essentially, that's it. So now if I wanted to create a site, this is where you would do it. So in my posts here, I could, here's a hello world post. You can look at this and see what this looks like. Yeah, go away. Welcome to WordPress. This is your first post. Edit or delete it and then start writing. So this is essentially what your blog would look like. So now you got a nice little blog you can configure. And essentially that's what it looked like. So let's visit the site and see what it looks like. So right now, if you don't do anything, this is what my blog looks like. So now I have a blog. Maybe I'll actually use this. I don't know. I'm gonna hang on to it in case future Amazon documentation references the build of a WordPress blog. But hopefully, if you're looking to create a blog or use this as a demo or some sort of proof of concept in your GitHub repository as part of a portfolio, you can do this. Automating this would be super awesome, right? With CloudFormation or Terraform or something like that. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully, I worked out any problems you may have encountered trying to do this on your own. And if nothing else, I guess I'll just see you guys in the next one. Thanks.